Moving on to BGA, much needed victory. Trip, what are your thoughts on this one?
I thought it was an overall masterclass from the Raptors personally, but to spotlight one person in particular, sophomore Ben Hubbard played the game of his life that game. Dude was electric. He has the wheels, and he showed his potential, what he could potentially do in college.
Not just him, but Carter Pace with 4 rushing touchdowns. Our offense was just dominant the whole time. It was amazing.
We played a fantastic game, and it was a much-needed morale boost. And last but not least, the Oakland game. A tough, heartbreaking loss for the Raptors. No one expected the Raptors to come out and do what they did that night. Trip, what are you thinking about this one?
Man, that Oakland team was something else. They had not lost since the pandemic started in 2019. Our offense kept up with them, and it was a valiant effort, but the Raptors ultimately couldn't get it done.
Yeah, and our defense was great as well. Great fight throughout the first 3 quarters, but I think tiredness, fatigue, and just a couple of injuries ultimately led Oakland to pull away.
Our level 4 student, Austin Bynum, has put together a little segment that covers the history of the Battle of the Woods matchup. Take a look.
Ravenwood enters the Battle of the Woods game this Friday with an 8-10 record against Brentwood in the regular season. The tradition has been going on ever since 2004 when Ravenwood had opened just 2 years before then. Brentwood's rivalry was once Franklin and instantly shifted to Ravenwood when they came into town. It has been one of the best rivalries in Williamson County over the years. After winning last year 21-16, the Raptors will try and keep the trophy back-to-back years. Both teams enter the game at 2-1. These teams have seen each other multiple times in the playoffs before, where Ravenwood has a 3-2 record against them. Coach Will Hester has a deep history of this game, having coached at Brentwood for 3 years back in 2010 through 2012. He returns as the head coach at Ravenwood for the 2nd straight year after leaving them back in 2015 to coach at Nolensville and Florence. Back through 2013 through 2015, Coach Hester led the Raptors to a 38-4 record and a championship.
Yeah, having coached at Brentwood and Ravenwood, been in this game for a long time, and probably almost half of the meetings I've been a part of in one way or another. But the game is super exciting, especially for the fans. All the kids know each other. They go to church together. They spend time outside of school together, and thus there's a lot of bragging rights for the winner at stake, and I think that's what kind of drives the excitement around the game for both fan bases and the players.
Last year, you did very, very good. Y'all had a very successful season. You got beat out by someone in the playoffs. Unfortunately, those 2 twins going to Kentucky. Hard time defending them. Do you think your team this year has what it takes to make the same run, if not farther?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think our guys have come together. We started out a little slow against NBA, breaking in a bunch of new players, guys that hadn't had a lot of experience. I think they have done well kind of improving each and every week. I think we proved last week against Oakland, who's won 33 games in a row, 34 now after beating us, that we can play on any given night with anybody in the state. So if we continue to improve and stay on the course we're on right now, the sky's the limit.
Y'all got anything to add for us?
I got one question for you, Coach. So we talk a lot about Chris, for good reason. He's a phenomenal player. Is there anyone you think we don't talk about enough, someone who makes big impact on and off the field?
Well, I think if you want to look on the defensive side of the ball, obviously that'd be Tanner Shuck.
Mm-hmm.
Tanner and then Drake Stallwork in there, and basically the same sentence. Both those guys have been kind of the leaders of that defense, and Drake's made some really big plays as well as Tanner. Tanner has the big hits on the quarterback against Franklin and also against Oakland. And then on the offensive side, I think Carter Pace is kind of maybe the straw that even stirs the drink that makes us go, right? His ability and Cartua's ability to run the football between the tackles, opens up the passing game for Chris and those receivers. So I would say those 3 or 4 guys obviously are kind of unsung heroes of the team.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
We are going to detail what each team needs to do to be successful in this rivalry. Trip, what are you thinking?
Honestly, man, Ravenwood's offense has been a strong spot for them, obviously, throughout the season. That's what's kept them in the games.
Absolutely.
Specifically the Oakland game. But for this game in particular, while they've been getting away with it in some games, like the BGA one, the 3rd down conversions need to be better for the team to be successful, flat out. And, on the defensive side of the ball, just keep doing what they're doing and they'll be successful.
Yes, sir. And one thing I would like to see from the Raptors is I think they could go through the air more. They only have about 700 passing yards, but a 76% completion rate. I think Chris is a phenomenal quarterback, great arm. I would like to see him try to hit his receivers more.
Absolutely.